All right. Everyone, welcome to our new podcast. We're called The Spread. I'm Joseph,
My name is Christian.
And I'm George.
and on this podcast, we're going to be talking a lot about NHL, NFL, MLB, and a bit of NBA here and there. Today, we're going to be focusing a lot on MLB heavy, NHL heavy because it's the start of the season and it's the MLB postseason. We're also going to be mentioning a bit about the NFL. And without further ado, I'd like to thank everyone behind the camera today too, including Georgie and Andy, taking care of the cameras and the sound. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started on the NFL, boys.
Christian, head us away.
First thing we'll discuss is the Sunday night game. That was pretty bad for the Bills. So, the main thing
Really
to
bad.
take away from that would be that they made Allen do too much, and I think that's what caused the loss. The usage of Cook was not enough, and that's what happens when you put Allen in that position. He threw that interception. They turned over the ball twice, and they had no sense of urgency because if you saw the game, it was tied 10-10, and the Patriots get 10, and they're asleep for three-quarters of the game. Then all of a sudden, they get that sense of urgency. They tie the game up. But if they had played that way for the entire game, they would have won that football game. It's not a talent issue. It's discipline.
Well, if you guys couldn't tell already, he's a very, very big, passionate Bills fan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that explains the frustration on that side. But
You
honestly,
have to stop playing down to teams.
I gotta say the Patriots. Listen, they came in there with a plan. They're going to Highmark, tough place to play, in Buffalo, away from home, and you got to find a way to just push through. And they stuck to their game plan, and
Yeah,
they got the job done.
I
They
don't
needed the
think
win
there's
there.
much to worry about with the Bills. So they have a
Oh, yeah,
strong
definitely
team.
not, yeah.
They're not budging this year. Even
Yeah.
though it's a loss, I don't think there's a lot to worry about. They have arguably the best team in the league. I think the Rams are up there and the Chiefs, but they're having a down year, right? So I think if there's a year that the Bills can do something, it's gonna be this year, right? It really just depends on how the playoffs go. Regular season, you can't be too concerned about, obviously. And the
Yeah.
playoffs, they're gonna make the playoffs.
100%.
They're gonna be a good team. But yeah,
And again, have your losses here and there in the regular season. Like it's the last time we saw a team unbeaten was what, the Patriots? Was it the Patriots all those years ago? It's not going to happen again. You know, the Bills are going to they have their losses here and there. Every team has their hiccups, but you just know playoff time. Unless they face the Chiefs, which history repeats
Right.
itself,
Yeah.
hopefully it doesn't happen again to them. But
yeah.
as
I
long as
don't
they
see
stay away
them.
from them, they should be okay.
I don't see them losing against the Ravens, especially this year. I don't know. Are the Ravens gonna make the playoffs? That's another thing.
Potentially, but we have to remember that Lamar's out. They face injuries on defense all year. It's not a matter of they're a bad team. It's that there's a lot of injuries, and that's what happens some of these years. But come playoff time, if they're winning games or on a hot streak, coming into a wild card team, that's going to be a really tough matchup for a division winner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's,
I agree. I do agree.
Listen, on the topic of the Ravens, they had a bad loss at home in front of their own fans against the Texans on the weekend. That was not pretty at all. Their defense, last couple of games to start the season here, is just like non-existent with those guys. I don't know what's going on with them, but if they want to get to where they want to get to, it's very, very clear in their organization. It's Super Bowl or nothing with these guys. They've been making push and making runs for it every single year with Lamar Jackson, with Derrick Henry, and they just can't seem to get it done. And right now, with how bad their defense is playing on that side of the ball, they look like they're not even. They may not even get in the playoffs at this rate. I guess they.
Yeah, I agree. They have a really talented team with Henry and Jackson, but Henry's not getting any younger, right? Like they're not a young team. They need to
It's
compete.
now or never, pretty much.
Yeah,
Exactly,
they
yeah.
need to
And when-
contend. They need
yeah.
to do make some moves. They got to try and do what they can do. But at the same time, I don't think at the beginning of the season it's not a time for panic. They have to just focus
That
on
is
what
very
they
true,
can
yeah.
what they can control. Like, we'll talk about it later, but similar to the Jays at the beginning, they didn't, falter. They kind of set themselves up for a good position, but we'll talk about that later again. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see the Ravens making a push at the end of the season. But it's really all going to depend on
The defense
how
probably for me.
How healthy
the
they are.
defense and also
And the
other.
health,
They're
yeah.
going to need some help from other teams
Yeah,
losing,
Good
right?
point. One of those teams being the Chiefs.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
they're down they're down in the record 2-3, I believe.
They're
right
2
now.
and 3. Yeah.
And obviously, they have a big game coming up next Sunday against the Lions. That is a make or break game for their season. They cannot afford to lose that game and go down 2-4, because that's just going to be a big hole to climb out of and a tough division that they're in as well this year. What do you guys think about that game next weekend?
Yeah, that's absolutely crucial, especially that they're playing in Arrowhead. That's as close to a
about that
must-win
too.
as it gets for the momentum going forward. I think they'll have a chance, but ultimately, I think this Lions offense, ever since losing that opener to Green Bay, they have been absolutely top tier. They haven't. It doesn't look like anyone has been able to stop them. So I do expect them to go into Arrowhead, get the win. It'll be a really tight game. Obviously, it's really hard to beat Mahomes and the Chiefs at home, but I think they'll get it done. I think they have a complete team, and at this moment, they're potentially my favorite to make it out of the NFC.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty bold right there. I do gotta say I like him a lot. I really like what Dan Campbell's doing over there with the group of guys he's got there. I think Goff and honestly the whole team in general have proved to themselves that last year was not a one and done season. That they're coming back with a vengeance. They're trying to get back to where they belong, where they think they belong in that title conversation. And at this point, with how well they've been playing lately, they may do it. The one team I do see causing problems for them, and they caused problems for them earlier in the season, is the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, Micah Parsons going over there, huge addition for them. Jordan Love is looking pretty good. I just feel like it's gonna be hard for them to beat them, especially if they play each other at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Packers are a good team, but I don't think they can step up to the Lions level, like in the playoffs. I think the Lions have a bit more urgency
That's a good point
than
too.
the
Yeah.
Packers.
Yeah.
Like,
I also feel like that it really depends on where they're playing. It depends on where, if it's in Detroit, if it's in Green Bay. I feel like that's a
good
huge
good
factor,
point.
especially
I
in NFL
agree.
playoffs.
I agree with that. But again, they are in pretty close proximity to each other, so like you're gonna
Exactly,
get
yeah.
you're that's not like your biggest worry because you're gonna get a bit of fans here, fans
Right.
there. You see that in every sport. It's not
Yeah.
gonna sway the home field advantage too
Yeah,
much.
that'll definitely be a very
Right.
interesting one to see
Yeah.
who comes out of that
Yeah.
NFC division. There,
Yeah,
and
like-
who takes it and who gets the bye, because that's
Yeah,
gonna
the
be a
buy
very,
the
very
buy is
tough,
absolutely crucial.
for them.
You
both those
need
teams,
that one
absolutely-
seed.
absolutely
Like it's
crucial, yeah.
especially for the AFC. Well, I don't know how it's going to shake out now, but because usually what everyone was thinking preseason was that it would be the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens as the top three,
Yeah.
and that the one seed would get home advantage in the AFC, bypass, let those two other teams take on each other, and then have to go on the road. So it's absolutely crucial. And
Oh,
it's going to work
absolutely.
the same way because you've got the Eagles, you've got the Lions, you've got the Packers. Like, whoever has that number one seed has a huge advantage.
Yeah.
It cannot
Yeah,
be
yeah,
it cannot be understated.
I do agree.
Yeah, very tough
Yeah.
division. Positioning in football, especially with the buys, very tough, and they're very important for all teams. Speaking of buys and playoffs, MLB playoffs have kicked off not too long ago, and currently there's a game going on right now with the Mariners and Tigers in the recording of this, and we also have the Jays, Yankees, of course, Brewers, Cubs, and Dodgers, Phillies. All four divisional series games are playing tonight. Four teams have a chance to clinch their way to the championship series tonight. Obviously, we got to talk about the main part of this whole thing. Blue Jays, bad job yesterday,
Terrible performance.
and
Yeah.
now Game 4 is tonight, and they're staring down the face of adversity right now. They win tonight, moving on. If they don't, Game 5 in Toronto on Friday. What do you guys think of the performance from yesterday?
You know, we talk a lot about the Jays and how they are literally like they're a manager's dream team. They make contact, they don't strike out, they don't make defensive errors. They're so good on that end of the ball. But last night, they couldn't do it.
Yeah,
They
Right.
just they were striking out a bit. The offense was good. 6 runs, you'll take it. But the main issue was the defense. That Barger drop ball. You can't blame it all on him. And same with Falefa and Santander. You can't blame it all on those guys because it happens. At the end of the day, you're gonna have errors. Like that's a part of the game.
That's playoff
And
baseball
John
for you.
Schneider said it today. He said, that happens. Stuff like that. It just
part of the game.
it comes up, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you need that. If they can come back tonight and have a good, solid game, I think they can take the series. I don't doubt the Jays. I also think the Yankees are a great team, but at the same time, I don't know if the Yankees can step up to their level, you know?
Yeah,
I
I'd
just
agree
yeah.
with that. But give credit to the Yankees. They were down by 5 runs, and it's not like it was a last minute comeback where they squeaked out the win 7-6. No, they won by 3 runs, down five. And you got to give credit. It starts with Aaron Judge. He homered, he's involved, he's hitting the ball, and that's when the Yankees are at their best, even despite some of their pitching struggles with Rodon and Fried in the bullpen. But it's their batters that really step up, and that's going to be a challenge for the Jays. If they want to, going forward, win the World Series, they have to get the bullpen in order.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the bullpen, the Yankees bullpen last night was lights out.
Yeah,
They were
Yeah.
something
they
else.
absolutely had to improve themselves
Yeah,
and
and
step
they
up,
did.
and
They
they absolutely
showed
did
they
in a very
showed up.
special way. They came
You
in
know.
there after that third inning from Rodon, and they
Yeah.
absolutely shut it down.
You know.
Eight runs unanswered. That is unreal in the
Yeah.
playoffs, especially this time of the year.
Yeah.
Very, very good performance from
Well,
them.
it just shows how the Yankees offense is so dynamic and explosive, really.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they have some big bats in there. They have
Yeah.
Judge, they have Stanton, they have Chisholm who has a lot of power. You know, they have Rice who didn't do too well last night, but you know, they
Yeah.
have guys who can hit homers,
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
Aaron Judge, we all know who he's about. He hit that one in the
yeah,
foul pole yesterday. I did also see something that to get some excitement into Jays fans, or at least some relief into it. That, like, if you think about it, watch that game last night. A lot of things went wrong for the Jays, and you can only think, okay, well, can it really be that bad again? 8 unanswered runs, home run off the foul pole, pitching changes early on, defensive errors all over the field. Like, does it really happen again in Game 4, even with a full bullpen game now?
I see that's the thing. It can happen.
Especially at Yankee
It can,
Stadium.
it's a possibility, but I don't think it will happen. The
I really
Jays
hope
have
not, yeah.
a really good team, and the only thing I would say is, okay, will the offense be as good as it was in the first 3 games? Because okay, yeah, they've had some really good offensive outpours and moments, but at the same time, they can probably they can stutter too, right? Right now they're on a
100%,
heater.
yeah.
They are on a heater right now, but it
Somewhat.
can falter. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, But also talking about other divisional series, the Dodgers right now
Speaking of momentum
are
and
up 2-0
dominance
against the
right
Phillies.
now, and the Brewers and the Cubs, 2-0
Yeah.
for both
Yeah.
the National League Divisional
Totally agree.
Series. Both of them a chance to close it out tonight. 5 o'clock and 8 p.m. are the starting times for the games tonight. Personally, myself, I think both of them get it done. I know the Brewers are going to Chicago, which Wrigley Field's a tough place to play, but I do think that the Brewers just have that edge pitching wise over the Cubs. I think they're going to get it done tonight. And as for the Phillies Dodgers, I'm going to take the Dodgers to win it at home and secure the series. What do you guys think of those games?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the Cubs potentially could force a Game 4. It all depends on Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yeah.
That's really he has to get it going and
Yeah,
get that
100%.
momentum going
I
for the
gotta say,
team.
he's been very, very.
But
poor
I'm
this
surprised
playoff
because
so
the
far.
Brewers, they usually get to this stage and they lose it. They're a higher seed, like we saw last year against the Mets. They completely blew it in that final inning. So there's concern there. But I think they'll get over the hump this year. They'll get at least to the NLCS. And for the Dodgers, they're the team to beat. It's plain and simple. They're the team to beat. Shohei,
100%.
that pitching.
100%.
They've got Mookie Betts, Freeman, and they've got even batters down the lineup that can contribute. I think they're the team to beat. They're 4-0 in the playoffs. They're essentially the only
Yeah.
team that played in the wild card round, hasn't lost yet, and they haven't proven otherwise that they're not the top team,
Yeah.
I mean,
even despite
listen,
being the third seed.
I mean, they are the defending champions at the end of the day.
Right.
It's hard to beat the guys who are on top. Obviously, you hear it all the time. Going back to back is one of the hardest things to do in sports. But if you look at the make of that Dodgers roster, I find it hard to see anyone else take their title and beat them at any point in this playoffs. Do you think there's anyone else?
I think the thing is with the Dodgers is they have a great team, and they have really good starting pitching. They have Yamamoto, they have Otani, they have Snell, right, and they have a good closer. They have Sasaki, who's been lights out this playoffs.
Absolutely lights out.
Trinan has had his faults, and so has Vesia. But I don't think that I don't see the Dodgers as a team like that has any major flaws,
Yeah.
right? Similar to okay, the Yankees, right? The Yankees they have their flaws, right? They have their bullpen, which is not that great, and and then you have the Brewers. The Brewers have been really good against the Cubs, and then you have the Jays. The Jays have been good except for last night. You know, I think this year we are looking at it as the Dodgers. Yeah, the Dodgers are going to win. I think it's a lot more contentious than that. I think it's a lot. There's a lot more parity than we think. I think that the Brewers could compete for that NLCS championship series if they make it. And I think that any team from the AL, I think that the Jays could win. I don't see Detroit winning. That's my only one team that I
I
would
agree with
not
that.
see
I
winning
don't
is
see
Yeah, I'd
Detroit.
agree.
I don't see
I don't think
Detroit.
they're
Yeah.
too young
Yeah.
Exactly.
for some of their top guys.
It takes a lot
The
of
experience is not there.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. No
but
lack of experience is.
I love
key.
Scooble. I love Scooble.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had a
The-
really
he's a-
good
he's a
big
hell of a
redemption year
pitcher.
for him.
But I don't see them making it to the. I don't see them winning the World Series. Although I think in a couple of years, yeah, they can really be that team. I think in the AL for the next couple of years, the Jays are going to be up there, especially with Guerrero and Bichette. But Bichette has to resign.
That's another point
That's
as well.
That's a big
That's another
factor.
point as well. We got to keep it more in
Yeah.
focus on what's going on right now. Do you honestly think there's any team, Christian? I want to hear your opinion about this as well.
Yeah.
Think there's any team right now, either side, that can compete or even beat the Dodgers in this year's playoffs?
I think if I had to choose one team to go up against the Dodgers, when the Jays are hot, their batting is hot, they can beat about anyone in the league. But it's really hard because yes, like Joseph was saying, it's very contentious. But if we had to put one team at the top and say who's the team to beat, I don't think there's any argument that it's the Dodgers.
Yeah.
But I could absolutely see if the Jays they get some pitching sorted out, some defensive errors cleaned up, they could absolutely play the Dodgers and potentially win that World
Yeah.
Series.
Yeah. I agree for the main part of that because, okay, yeah, the Jays are a great team, but it's not, the talent that makes them stand apart from everyone else. It's their ability to do what they do best, what the players do best. Like, you see Davis Schneider go up there and get a 14 pitch at bat. That is like that's gonna run through the lineup, that's gonna bleed through the lineup, and that's gonna make an impact on the pitcher.
Yeah.
The starting pitcher, if you can get a guy like Yamamoto or Otani to pitch like have high leverage innings in a row, you get them out of the game early before the fifth inning starts, get their bullpen in, and then you can really start getting the offense going. That's what it's about to me with the Jays. They have an identity
Yeah.
that's really
100%.
strong and really impactful, and they all believe that, right? There's not one person in that locker room that says, okay, yeah, I'm gonna stand out, you know I'm gonna be the one guy to just go swing for a home run every time.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, you're gonna get home runs. Vladdy's gonna hit home runs, Springer's gonna hit home runs,
Yeah.
Barger's gonna hit home runs, but I think the Jays' identity is about, running out the pitcher, making the good play on defense, being a manager. I said it before. It's about being a manager's team, and that's what they are in my
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
Another thing with the Jays as well is that if you look at their numbers, they're not one of the higher teams when it comes to home run hitting,
No.
but they are number one in contact, batting average,
Yeah.
and all of the above.
That's huge.
That is very, very huge for playoff baseball because it's very, very hard to get those big home runs when you need them in playoff baseball. But to get a big hit, that base hit, driving a run or two, that is what can make or break a team. Me personally, I do like the Jays a lot comparing to the other teams on the American League side of things, but I want to keep my bias out of it. I do think if the Yankees come back and capture this series, I do think that they can definitely give the Dodgers a run for their money
I agree
again, a
with
second
that.
time around. And yeah, I just feel like, again, with the Yankees, it's experience. They've been in the championship series many times. They've obviously World Series last year. They know what they're coming in this for. They know what they're in this for. They know who they're probably going to eventually meet if they get there to the World Series, which is probably the Dodgers again. And I think they know what they have to do this time around. They have the
Yeah.
players to do it. They have the pitching to do
Yeah.
it. They just got to go out there and do it. And a
Though-
lot of their fans are irritated that they haven't done it yet with this group of guys.
Though, well, yeah, with the Yankees, it's just the bullpen.
Yeah,
That's the
Their
main issue,
downfall.
100%.
that's the only thing.
But
is,
their
yeah.
starting pitchers, even against the Jays, Rodon had a terrible outing last night, and Fried was awful.
Yeah.
You know, and then who was starting on Saturday? It was, it wasn't Schlittler, it wasn't Fried, it wasn't Rodon. Saturday, who started?
Saturday was good question. Oh my God, I'm forgetting who started on Saturday.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is.
The
Well,
Jays must have
regardless,
gotten them out,
whoever
right?
it was, it
Oh
wasn't.
my God. Wow.
It was
Completely
not a
forgot
good.
who-
It was not a good outing for them.
Yeah.
So
Well, whoever. That's why
all
we
around,
remember.
moral
he
of the
got hooked
story,
pretty quickly.
cause for concern for the Yankees. That has to be either. It's not. Nobody's questioning the batting strength of that team. It's the bullpen, and even like those starting pitchers, Fried, Rodon, like who are known for being those elite pitchers who can be an ace on virtually any team. They've had some tough outings, but I think that also does speak to the strength of the Blue Jays, like how good their batting
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, again, I said earlier, they got an identity this year. The couple years before, they didn't have that really. You know,
Not at all.
they relied on their star players only, and right now, okay, of course, the series is not close to over between them and the Yankees, but they're up 2-1, and they're with probably, arguably, their best hitter in Bo Bichette, right? So we don't know when he's coming back, but that's what I think is very important to look on. And as we're talking right now, the Mariners have actually taken the lead over
Indeed
the
they
Tigers.
have. Indeed they have.
1-0 in the top of the second.
I also wanted to talk about them for a little bit too. I think they're pretty underrated in terms of their roster construction, and I really think that they can really challenge either the Jays or the Yanks after this series, just because I think they have one of the strongest rotations in the league for the last couple of years now. And of course, Cal O'Reilly had an unbelievable season, over 50 plus home runs. He was
60.
unbelievable. 60 home
60.
runs. Ah, that guy's unbelievable this year. He had an absolute terror of a year. And I think when you have a guy like that, 60 home runs, it can cause you and it can hurt you at any point, at any game, at any time. I feel like the Mariners are a very, very big slept-on team, especially if they capture the win tonight and move on to the championship series.
Yeah, I think they are a good team, you know, especially because they can hit home runs
Yeah.
with the best of them. And, you know, in the postseason, obviously, hitting for average is important. But if you look at the stats, teams that have hit more home runs in the series win most of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Mariners are a good power team. They have Rodriguez, they have Suarez, they have Raleigh, and they got a lot of guys who can get on base. They have good defense. They have good pitching. The only thing is, I don't know if they can be taken as seriously as a team like the Dodgers. Right? I don't
Yeah,
think they can.
I
If
wouldn't
they
go
play
that
the
far.
Dodgers,
I
I don't
wouldn't
think
put
they
them
can
in
win.
that category.
Even
Yeah.
against a team like the Yankees, if the Yankees make the ALCS and it's the Yankees and Mariners, I think the Yankees can win in 6.
Yeah.
That's my take.
I could see that happening.
But
I could see that happening.
again,
That'll be a very interesting one to see. I feel like
yeah.
there's a better chance of someone from the American League beating the Dodgers in the World Series than someone else in the National League. I mean, honestly,
I agree.
before the Dodgers Phillies series even began, I thought if there's any team to give them a run, I honestly thought it was the Phillies because they, again, very, very big on their bats. If they can if there's any team if there's any team in the league that can out hit and outscore the Dodgers purely on offense, it's probably the Phillies.
The
And
Phillies
again,
are
this
the
year so
Yankees.
far, their offense has been quiet, even at home.
Yeah.
It's been completely silent.
Yeah,
don't know
that's
what's going on with
hugely disappointing. Like you'd expect them having a bye to come prepared, well rested, and they're down 2-0. They're facing elimination tonight. It's like they have to get it going. Like some of those batters, Schwarber, like you
Yeah,
have to see
Turner,
a big
Schwarber, Harper.
Turner,
You need
Schwarber, Harper.
they need a big moment tonight. Real Muto, you know, they got a good team. I think Nola is starting tonight for them. I'm pretty
believe
sure
so.
he's
Fact
a
check that
very
right
good
now. It is
veteran
indeed Aaron
pitcher. You know,
Nolan.
he knows what
Correct.
he's doing. But it's gonna be hard for them to go into that environment in Dodger Stadium and win because they have a good team and they have, you know, you saw it last year against the Mets, right? The Mets were on an absolute heater and the Dodgers just shut that down and look where the Mets are now.
Do you want to talk about that, Christian? You want to bring
Oh,
up
yeah,
the Mets and
well,
the nice collapse about the Mets?
listen, we spent a lot of money and it didn't work out, and now Pete Alonso's leaving, and we're left with nothing. But hopefully, if we can just spend our way out of our problems, and we tried to do that this year, highest payroll in the league, still managed to lose to the Reds, and I'm very happy to see that the Reds made such good use out of their opportunity against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mets are something else. You
Mets
know,
are sad as-
especially
That's a topic for another day.
Well, listen, to
especially
start as hot
because
they were, it's to start as hot as they were, and to finish where they finished.
yeah,
No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
they
man.
they were first
Talk
place.
to
It
me
looked
about it,
like
Joe. That was
legitimate
bad.
contender, and they just couldn't. They missed. I don't know how that happens.
yeah. I think that I there are some things to worry about. Obviously, with Alonso leaving, most likely, and with the pitching woes of the Mets. But offensively, just with the absence of Alonso, I think you guys are still pretty solid.
I mean,
You know, you
well,
still
Yeah,
have
that's
Lindor.
not
you
my.
give a lot
That's
of money
that
to
wouldn't
Soto.
be my
Soto.
concern.
Exactly.
The number one
Suarez very good
concern
still.
should be the pitching.
It is the
Yeah.
pitching because after Senga and Peterson, it's pretty
Yeah. It's a
atrocious.
rocky road for sure.
I won't
yeah.
sugarcoat it. It's
Obviously,
pretty bad.
they have Diaz still as the closer, and
But as
you
a
know,
closer.
he's special. But they're gonna have to have a bounce back year in the next couple of years. But this is just Mets baseball. Haven't we
Yeah.
gotten used to this over the last decade or two? Like,
Yeah.
just
Oh,
it happens, right?
I'm well used to it.
yeah,
Happens to the best of us. Don't worry. Hopefully for us Jays fans, they get the job done tonight.
Oh yeah.
Personally,
Hopefully.
I think it goes 5. I really hope not. But
Yeah.
before we move on, you guys want to give us our final World Series predictions for the final 2 teams and who's going to win it?
Christian.
Yeah. So I'll say I have the Dodgers currently defeating the Jays in 6. I think there is no one, especially now that the series are going to 7 games, to contend with the Dodgers for that long of a time. You're gonna have tired bullpen, tired batters. It's too much for I think any team to handle. I think the Blue Jays can give them a good fight in 6, but I just don't. Especially with the Jays, like they have guys like Springer who have been there, they've won. But for the rest of the team, they don't have that experience to defeat the Dodgers. I don't think yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
I'm gonna go ahead. I do agree with a lot of the points that you said, but I think that there's a team like the Mariners that can absolutely make a push to the postseason, especially because of their power that they have, their home run power. Can the Jays top that? We talk about the bullpen of the Jays, and it is great. But we have seen how it has played out this year with Hoffman. He's had his struggles.
I mean, just look at last night. That's a great example to tell you how
So,
sometimes the bullpen,
That's why in
ruin
this
you.
case, I am taking the Dodgers over the Mariners in 7 games.
Wow.
7-game series.
7 games.
Wow.
I don't see them taking care of them that lightly. The Mariners are a good team. They have
Yeah.
a strong,
Yeah,
really strong team.
I can't lie. I'm on the same boat with you. I was thinking Mariners before. I thought you guys were all going to go Jays. I'll be honest with you, but I thought the Mariners could be the outside one out. But I'm going to go Mariners, Dodgers, and 7 is a very, very bold pick. I can definitely see that happening. Again, the power bats of Seattle and the great rotation that they have definitely can get there if they have strong outings and they perform pretty well, especially in the games at Safeco Field. That's one to watch out for if they get there. But I do think the Dodgers end up taking it in 5 or 6 games. I do think
Okay.
the experience of the Dodgers, obviously championship
Yeah.
pedigree, they won it last year. I don't see how they're gonna fault even further. Moving on to the National Hockey League, obviously yesterday is when the season officially kicked off. We had a couple of games yesterday.
Yep.
Of course, we started off with the Panthers the championship banner series, the championship banner ceremony, of course, and defeating the Blackhawks last night. Obviously, no Barkov, no Kachuk for them. A very, very big question is, are they going to retain? And if they want to retain the division, if they want to retain the Stanley Cup, they got to make it in the playoffs. I want to turn it over to you, Joseph. Who do you have in your Atlantic Division standings, and who do you have?
Right.
Where do you have them finishing so far, and how is it all going to play out?
So I do have the Panthers making the playoffs, although I don't have them as first in the division. I think they're going to have a good
Really?
year. I think they're going to have a solid team. I don't think the only thing my issue with the Panthers is, are they going to be able to keep up that pestiness that Kachuk brings to the lineup, and I think they will because they still have Marchand.
Yeah,
sti-
they still got a lot
they
of
still
great
have
Still have
Marchand.
players.
Bennett
Yeah.
playing
They
all
still
those
have
minutes.
Bennett.
Oh, 100%.
Obviously, Barkov is injured, but I still think they can be an impactful team. For me, I have them falling second in the Atlantic, just behind the Leafs.
Yeah.
So I,
Interesting.
I think the Leafs, obviously they lost Marner, which is huge, but I think they can still have a really good year, especially with the additions that they made over the offseason with Waugh. Obviously, they didn't lose Marner for nothing, which is good. And honestly, one thing that I've been really impressed with the Leafs over the last couple of years that they've struggled with in the past decade is their defense. Their defense core is one of the best in the NHL, in my opinion. And not offensively, but defensively, they can really hold their own. Like a guy like OEL, a guy like Carlo, a guy like Tanev. Riley has had his faults, but he's still there defensively. And then you have Stolarz backing them up. So I don't have an issue with them. I think they can still finish first in the league, in the Atlantic, not in the league, in the Atlantic.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a big Maple Leaf fan. I'm big Maple Leaf fan myself. I've seen all the playoff heartbreaks. I know what it's all about. I don't think we're going to win the division again. I actually have the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the division in the Atlantic, but I do think Toronto finishes second. I also got Florida at 3. I do feel like obviously the loss of Barkov for the entire year and Kachuk for half of the year is going to cost them a little bit. But I mean, when you've won back-to-back cups, and you have all those guys, Bennett, like you said earlier, Bennett, Verhaeghe, Marchand, Rodriguez, and obviously their blue line still is pretty healthy. I feel like it's going to be hard for a lot of teams to beat them out for that spot. And it just really, for the Leafs, it really just matters about the playoffs. I mean, it just happens every year. They just can't get past the second round, and sometimes they're lucky to even win a round. I don't know. With the loss of Marner too, I just don't know if they're going to continue that forward. What do you think, Christian? Who else do you think is going to make it to the playoffs?
I'd agree with you that I think it's the Lightning. Their offense with Kucherov, Hagel obviously wasn't healthy for that series, so I think they're going to have a healthy team this year, and that offense can be potentially the best in the league. I do still have the Leafs at second. I think they're good enough. I think Matthews being healthy will actually add another level to their game. I expect them to I could see them reaching the 60-goal mark again. Their defense is sound. They've really invested in that, acquiring Carlo, signing Tanev, signing OEL. And then I have a surprise team for third. It might be a surprise to some, but I have the Montreal Canadiens at third. I really like what they're building there. I love what they're doing. I think Demonov's going to have a 60-plus point season, and I think Suzuki's going to do well. Caulfield could have 45-plus goals.
Yeah.
Hudson's just going to continue to get better. Dobson's coming in. So I think they're a really complete hockey team. And obviously, about the Panthers, I do have them at 4, and I don't think that's a stretch because if you look back to last season, they were the third place in the Atlantic Division, and the Senators were not too far behind. So considering the injuries with Barkov, with Kachuk, I don't think it's a stretch to say that they're going to be a wild card team, but a very competitive one.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love to hear the love for Montreal at third. As a Habs fan, you really want to see that, right? They've had a great offseason. I think Hughes has really changed the team and made it a really good identity for the team overall with Suzuki at the helm. Then you have Caulfield, and you got a guy like Hudson, and Demidov and Dobson and Montembeau's backing them up. And I think Dobish is a really good backup goalie.
I do think so as well.
So, man, it's hard not to think about this Habs team as something that can be really special because you watch Hudson play, and man, this guy, he's so dynamic. His skating, his puck control, and over the preseason, he scored a bit. He had a nice little shot in his game, it was really nice to see that.
Yeah.
So, I think again, I have the Habs at fourth or fifth fourth in the Atlantic in my predictions, because I don't think Ottawa did too much over the offseason. That's my point.
Right.
The Habs did a lot. Hughes was very active. He also added a guy like Bolduc. And obviously, I think I'm expecting a big step from Slavkovsky this year. If you can have Slavkovsky at 60 points, Demidov at 60 points, Bolduc maybe gets 20 goals and 20 or 25 assists, just let the third and fourth line do their thing, you're probably going to look at a playoff team, I think.
For sure.
I don't see Ottawa being that good. Obviously, they added Cousins last year and Allmark, but I think they relied a lot on Allmark to get them to where they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm going against the grain here from you two. I do have the Senators clinching the final wild card spot in the Eastern Conference and in the Atlantic Division. I do have Montreal missing out on the playoffs this time, but I'm not saying that they're going to. I don't think there's going to be any form of a big drop off. I think they're trending in the right direction. They got a lot of good young pieces in there. I personally just like the construction of Ottawa's roster better. I like their goaltending better. I'm a really big fan of Jake Sanderson. Obviously, I watched a lot of hockey, a lot of Senators hockey last year. Obviously, we played them in the playoffs last year, and I saw a lot of positives from their team. I think Travis Green's a very underrated coach, underhated even at times. I know he's got a lot of stick from his previous jobs, but what he's done so far in Ottawa, he's taken a team that has been relatively nowhere near the playoffs, and then all of a sudden he comes in. They get Allmark, obviously they get their guys, which obviously helps, but they just come right back in the playoff scene, and they're like pretty competitive. Kachuk, Stutzel, like I really like their team with the construction of their roster, and I just think that they have a lot of positive things going forward, and they're still pretty young as well. So I do think they can be a very big threat in the
Yeah.
Atlantic Division going
Yeah.
forward. A tough Atlantic Division, mind
Yeah,
you.
I think one thing that we should mention is the parity in the NHL this year is
Oh,
unlike any
100%.
other.
Oh, 100%. Couldn't agree any more
I don't
than
think
that.
there's a number one team. I
No,
don't think.
not at all.
Okay, people are predicting Edmonton to win. People are predicting Dallas, the Avs, the Panthers. There's not
Yeah.
a number one team. There's not a
Exactly.
clear cut team that is. Obviously, the Panthers in the playoffs are a great team, and I'm not going to say that they aren't because they
Right.
are. But I think in terms of regular season and when it comes to the playoffs, I think there's so much that can happen. Like
Yeah.
we don't know,
Yeah. And
right?
also, I should mention for the record that the Senators are my wild card 2 team. I agree with a lot of the points. I think Allmark's going to be really solid. Obviously, just a few years ago was Vezina season. I really think Brady Kachuk's going to step up to have a big year. Stutzel's can be a 90-plus point player. He's that good.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they were even in the top 3.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a very, very good point. I want to quickly move on now to the Metropolitan Division. Obviously, another game from there yesterday. Penguins. Christian over there is
Yeah.
getting all excited over there. The Pittsburgh Penguins shut down the Rangers with the final score of 3-0 at Madison Square Garden to open up the season. Bad start for the Rangers, but Penguins, good start for them, no?
Oh, amazing start. I have to say, I think in the last 2 years or 2 or 3 years that we've missed the playoffs, that has to be my favorite Penguins game because it was so different from what you usually see. You usually see a terrible defense, arguably the worst in the league, turning over the pucks, letting chances go to the other team, and then you would have Jari letting in 5 goals, and then there's only so much Crosby could do. But last night was a huge change from that. They were defensively sound. They were clearing pucks out of the zone. Shilovs was absolutely lights out. It was like that's the best goaltending this team has had in like 8 years.
Yeah.
And
Pretty bold after one game, but listen, he had his stints in Vancouver as well during that playoff run. And I mean, he's a young goaltender. What's not to be excited about for Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think that Pittsburgh has a well, there's a lot to talk about with Pittsburgh because we don't know what direction they're going in, right? What's going to happen with Crosby?
That's another good point.
What's
too.
going to happen? What are they going to do this year? Are they
Yeah.
going to take more of a soft direction and tank for that McKenna, which I think personally they should do.
I believe so as well.
Yeah.
But then what's Crosby going to do? I think he'll want to stay in Pittsburgh personally. I don't see him getting traded this year. I think that's a really bold take. I think he stays in Pittsburgh
me too.
Yeah,
because
That'd be
that's
hard.
he's loyal.
exactly. He's franchise players. Been
Yeah.
there for almost 20 years now. 20. Sorry, it is
20.
20th
This is
season.
his
Sorry,
21st season, actually.
I
I
forgot
think.
about this. Is it
Yeah,
correct?
he's
This is
been-
his 21st season. Wow, yeah. Time flies, eh? What a player that guy is. 3 Stanley
Yeah.
Cups with the
Three
Penguins.
st-
And where do you guys have him? Where do you guys have the Penguins finishing this year? Going
Uh,
off that win, or even just generally
Uh,
yesterday?
I still have the Penguins at 8th.
Yeah.
And also, just to address the Crosby trade talks, you have like, it's kind of an interesting dynamic because you have this guy who's like so loyal, yet so competitive. So it's like, what do we do? Do we trade him, but he wants to stay in Pittsburgh? Like that whole. But I ultimately think he's going to stay in Pittsburgh. And like, it's just a go with the flow season. Like, potentially they could make a wild card race. It's unlikely, but it's possible. But just because like, it's so tough of of a league to win in. So I still have them at 8th in the Metro. I think there's other teams that, like the Flyers went out, they got some upgrades. Zegras is on there. I could see Michkov taking a step. They could be top 5 in that division. The Blue Jackets, obviously, they had a decent season last year.
Yeah.
The
Surprised
Capitals
a lot
were
of people
there.
last year, the Blue
Yep.
Jackets.
Yep.
The Islanders brought in Schaefer. They shouldn't be slept on. So I just think like it's not necessarily like that they're. I don't think they're a bottom 3 or maybe not even a bottom 5 team in the league. They're just gonna have to be at that 8 spot for me right now.
George, I am curious. Where do you have the Islanders in your standings? Because they are kind of in that, middle pack where they have good talent like Barzell and Horvat and Sorokin, but they also have young guys like Eklund and Schaefer. Where do you have them?
They're a very interesting one for me because it wasn't too many years ago where they were constantly battling with the Lightning in the playoffs, conference finals to try to get into the finals. It wasn't that long ago, and there's a lot of players on the current team that were on that team as well. So it's a bit of a weird one for me. Like they have a lot of players who I know have playoff performance and they have playoff pedigree and they're good players, and also now they have the mix of the youth, Patrick Roy behind the bench. I don't think they make the playoffs this year. I just feel like they get the injury bug too often in that locker room,
Yeah.
and it happens to fault them. I also think the Metropolitan Division is a very, very tight division overall. It's gotten a lot stronger over the past couple of years, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were last season. I don't think they're going to fall in the lottery and get lucky again, but I do think they are going to improve and just miss out on the last wildcard spot by just maybe 10 or so points, but they will be better. I do think they will be better. A full season of Barzal should be much better. He only played 30 games last season. I think Bo Horvat's a very underrated player. Obviously, Sorokin's one of the better goalies in the league. The loss of Dobson's very, very big, but Matthew Schaefer, kid's got a lot of talent. This
Yeah.
big debut for him
Yeah.
tomorrow as well.
I have them finishing 7th, but
I do as well.
I think that can change. I think they could be a top 5 team in the Metro.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because I have the Rangers as my wild card 1. I have them finishing just below the Capitals, Devils, and Canes. I have the Canes winning the division.
Yeah.
So I don't see the Islanders competing yet, but I see them as a team that could possibly compete in 2 to 3 years for that wild card spot
Yeah.
because they have a lot of young talent. And not to mention, I really like that pickup of Kashan Aitchison. He's a big body defenseman.
I gotta say,
he can
out
hit.
of all
They won the
out of-
draft,
love
no
him.
doubt.
I
love
They
him.
were the number one
Exactly.
winner
I
of the
couldn't
draft.
say.
I love
That was my
Aitchison.
exact
Those
point.
three,
That was
they
what I
hit
said.
on all 3 of those
They
first
had
round
an
picks.
They did.
unbelievable draft.
They did.
They had a
Eklund
great
is
draft.
going to be a heck of a forward.
I couldn't
one
believe
day.
he fell that far.
I know. I
Even
know.
even
Very good
Aitchison
player.
was supposed
Yeah.
to go near the top 10.
They
Yeah,
are going
they
to
had
have
a great draft.
a hell of a blue line. They have Schaefer. They have Aitchison. They're probably going to build it up over the next couple of years even more.
Yeah.
They have Romanov, ex-Montreal Canadian Alexander Romanov.
Alexander Romanov, exactly.
But I think
Exactly.
we should also shine a little light on the Central Division because this past year everyone was saying the Central Division's so strong, so good, and then it got to the playoffs and it kind of was like, oh boy, the Jets lost in the second round. Obviously, the Stars and the Avs was one of the best playoff matchups we've seen in a long time, but I think that we'll have to see.
Yeah. So listen, the Central Division for me, honestly, I've had a lot of troubles figuring out the division winner and the whole placement of it all. I also want to address one more thing as well. We did make and confirm these predictions before the season started yesterday, just so we get that clear, just so we clear the air on that before it's too late. But I was very, very indecisive between Dallas and Colorado winning the division. And I'll tell you why. Obviously, Dallas last year, the big headlines after the season ended for them, firing Pete DeBoer after his comments about Jake Ottinger. I do think that is going to harm them a bit because obviously DeBoer is one of the better coaches in the league, I think at least. However, I do have them winning the division because on paper, to me, they have the strongest team, not only in the division, but I think in the entire Western Conference.
Okay.
I don't think the Jets are going to go back to back. I think Scott O'Neill had a great first year with the Jets. They had a great season last year. Another playoff disappointment, which is typical at this point with the Jets. But I have them second, Colorado going at third. And then my last 2 wildcard spots, I have Minnesota getting in there for sure. I think the Kaprizov extension now is going to start balling out like he has been in the last couple of years. Gustafson, I think, is due for a big season. They have a lot of great young guys coming on the blue line. Obviously, David Juracek's in the system. Zeev Boom is supposed to make his NHL debut coming up very soon. I just thought they have a lot of excitement and promise in Minnesota. Obviously, the Parise and Suter contracts are off the books completely, obviously, hence why the extension was made for Kaprizov. I think there's a lot of things to get excited about in Minnesota. I just feel like the Colorado, Winnipeg, and Dallas are just a little bit too good for them right now.
Yeah, I do have the Stars finishing first in the division. I think they're the strongest team by quite a bit. I think the Jets are a good team, but I don't think they can compete. I think Hellebuck had a hell of a year last year. And I think that the Avs, they're a good team, but I don't see them finishing top two in the division.
I agree with
I
that.
don't either.
Yeah.
And then for my 2 wild card spots, I have the Blues and the Wild. It was very tough between the Mammoth and the Wild for me and the Blues. But I think the Blues are only on the uptick. You know, they had a great year last year. I think Bennington had a really good year.
Jim Montgomery as well,
Yeah.
a very, very
Yeah,
underrated coach.
Great coach. But I think that the Mammoth are going to make a lot of waves this year. I think that they're going to really get in between that 2 to 3 point range of a wild card spot, if not make it, because the acquisition of Paterka this offseason, I think that was a really good pickup, and they're only getting better. They got Cooley, obviously. I heard some contract extensions with him were taking some heat. I think he rejected a $7 million deal.
Something around that range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that might have an impact. What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, so I do have the Stars winning as well, just because of their offensive depth is absolutely insane. You have that whole third line that could realistically be second-line players. I love their defense with Miro Heiskanen healthy.
Oh, yeah.
I love their and for the number 2, I actually have the Wild at the number 2 spot in
Wow.
that division.
Wow,
The
wow,
reasoning
wow.
behind that would be if you look at last season, they were first in that division, and then Kaprizov got hurt. So that just shows how good of
That's
a team
very
they can
true.
be with Kaprizov healthy. And then I do have the Jets third. I think they're going to take a step back just because I don't think Hellebuck can replicate the season he had last year. So for that, they're going to take a step back. And then I think the Avalanche are the odd one out. They're very top heavy. They have championship pedigree. They're a great team, but I just am a bit concerned about that bottom 6.
I think
So
a
for
lot
that-
of people are.
And I do have the
don't blame
Blues
you as
missing
well.
the playoffs this year just because that top 8's so good. I think
Yeah.
that the Blues have a really good offense, but who else has a good offense that could be coming back is the Vancouver Canucks. Peterson, Besser re-signed, so they have the depth to do it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get that final wildcard spot.
It really, really depends on how good Pedersen's playing. And speaking of the Canucks, we should probably head over to the Pacific Division and talk about who's going to finish top and bottom there. Before we do that, I do want to address that. I think it's pretty obvious that we all have the Hawks and the Preds around the bottom of the Central
Yeah.
Division.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think that's not, I don't think it's
That
a
is
surprise to
self-explanatory.
anyone.
Yeah.
But I also do want to ask you guys if you guys think that Utah have any chance of making the playoffs, because I actually have them in my second wild card spot this year. I just think that they're so exciting and so much young talent. I think they're going to have a very, very similar kind of resurgence as the Habs had last season, because I feel like the construction of the roster is very similar
I do agree.
to them.
Yeah.
And I just feel like their team is so exciting, so young, so talented, so skillful. I could really, really see them making noise in the Western Conference this year. Moving on to the Pacific Division.
Yep.
Obviously, the big question is, can the Oilers get back to the Cup final, and can they win it before McDavid ultimately leaves? What do you guys think?
Well, you said that McDavid's going to leave. I don't see him leaving anytime
Listen,
soon.
listen.
If
That's
they
all
don't win within the next 2 years, because you know what that contract tells me is we either win the cup
Yeah.
within these next 2 years or I'm gone.
listen.
That's what that contract.
I'm going to throw something up there
That's
right now.
written all
All I'm
over
going to tell you guys is that thing. What's it called? The Oilers are 3 years. McDavid has 3 more years left on his deal. Matthews also has 3 more years left on his deal. That's all I'm going to say. I'm very, very excited.
The Leafs
for the
fan is
future.
coming out
Listen,
of you, eh?
listen.
Yeah.
You got
The
to
Leafs
you got to
fan is
think of it.
coming out.
Toronto boy, Newmarket boy. You got to be all excited, right?
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
very, very
Crosby
excited for
will
this
just
whole
end up going there before. he
Yeah,
retires.
yeah, no,
we'll just,
we'll just
we'll just.
they
send
might
him.
add McKinnon, they might.
Yeah.
I do think though. I think Edmonton will finish first in the Pacific this year. I think they have a really good team. You know, obviously Vegas, they have a good team. They added Marner this year, but I don't see them coming first. Like I don't see them being that great in the regular season with the loss of Petrangelo and their big gaping hole. Obviously, the Oilers have this issue too, but I think it's more evident with the Knights is their goaltending
Yeah.
is just. I think the Oilers in the regular season, their goaltending isn't too bad. I think Skinner is pretty solid in the regular season when you could
Yeah.
manage his load and you know, kind of like drop him off for some games, you know. I think that with the Knights, I think Hill is gonna. I don't know what's going on with him. I really don't know. So
I think he'll bounce back. Like
yeah, he might.
I,
He
I, I
could.
actually have the Knights at first in the Pacific. I think that addition of Marner is just going to take them to the next level. Like I could
agree
see
as well with that.
Eichel
yeah.
and Marner combining for like 200 points. Like they could
Yeah,
have
that's a
100
good
point.
point.
They
they're
could.
Eichel
that
could
good with
Eichel
each
could
other.
battle for the Heart this year. I could argue.
I
could
think that might be a stretch, but anything's
I
possible.
think he
Like
comes
it's on.
top five in the Heart voting. I
If
think
they're in the
top five.
President's
You can.
Trophy
I can see that
conversation,
happening.
it could happen.
Oh, I could definitely see that
But-
happening. Yeah, especially
but
on that
personally-
line. Marner could be
per-
really.
Personally,
exciting.
my heart take. I think this guy is gonna have a heck of a year, and he's gonna bounce back. I think it's got to be McDavid.
Yeah.
The last couple of years, he's had like some bit of down years since his
It's been
153
it's been a
point
lingering
season.
injuries as well. He's had
Yeah,
to deal
lingering
with
injuries,
here and
even
there.
last
Yeah,
year.
of course,
obviously
But I think
playing all
this
the way
year, I
through,
think
but-
this year he's gonna turn it up.
Yeah, I
really see
also
him doing
believe you
that.
should turn it up. I don't think it's gonna be enough for them to win the division. Again, I
Right.
agree with you guys both. I do have the Golden Knights doing it. Again, I think the addition of Marner. I think Bruce Cassidy's a great coach. I feel like their goaltending is stable enough in the regular season to do just fine. I also saw a stat too where the Oilers apparently haven't won a division in like 40 something years.
Wow.
Or something. It's a crazy stat. I just don't see that changing. I just like Vegas's roster better as of right now. I like their defense better. I think obviously McDavid and Draisaitl are the best forwards in the league, but overall the depth of Vegas's forward group, I like that a lot more. At the third spot, I have the LA Kings. I think like Kopitar's last year, they're going to go for one final push. And that sets up an inevitable Oilers Kings first round.
We all know how that goes.
Exactly. I wouldn't put a lot of money on the Kings winning that one. But
No.
yeah, I don't know about you guys for the last wildcard spot, but both of my wildcard spots are in the Central Division, so I don't have the Canucks making the playoffs. I do have them at 4 though in the division. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with the Canucks at 4, and like back like what you said with the Mammoth, like it could happen. Like I see all these teams within like 3 points of each other, but ultimately I think the Canucks offense is gonna bounce back, and then about the Kings, they did not have a good game yesterday. It was like their offense was non-existent, and like for a team that is so praised for its defense, they let up 4 goals, and even the series with Edmonton, they were up 2-0, and they choked it all away. Last minute goals being let in. So that's why I think I've lost a lot of confidence in the Kings. I don't doubt the regular season ability to get like a top 3 finish in the division, but
Yeah.
no, I just don't
I-
trust them to win a series.
I kind of agree, to be honest.
No.
I could see the Kings falling out of the playoffs this year. I could see the Canucks jumping. I do have the Kings at 3rd, and I have Vegas at 2, but I can actually see the Kings dropping
I could
out.
see them being a wild card team.
I could see
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
I could see the Canucks jumping in on top of them. It's definitely a possibility.
Possibly.
I don't think the Ducks will. I think the Ducks are going to be in contention for that wild card spot, but I don't think they're going to get to the playoff mark yet.
Yeah.
They did have some additions though, like Kreider and like who else did they add? They had Kreider and Truba, so they added
Yeah.
a bit of physicality. On
They
their
lost
team.
John Gibson as well, so that gives
Yeah,
them a
that
lead for Lucas
now
Dostal to
Dostal
play,
is going
so
to develop.
that's going to be very
I
good
think
for
they're
them.
still going to be a fringe team for now, but I think this goes without saying. I do have the Sharks at the bottom of the Pacific.
I think
I
I
do
think
as well.
that's,
Shocker.
I think that's
but-
pretty. I think we can all agree on that one.
I think Sharks and Kraken definitely the bottom
Yep,
2 teams
yep,
in
I
that
agree.
division. I think the Ducks, they're not too bad of a team on paper. I really like Leo Carlson. Cutter Gauthier, I think, is going to take a
Yep,
step.
I
The
love Cutter
McTavish
Gauthier,
extension, like they're really building a foundation, but I still have to put them at 6 because they just need to grow as a team,
Yeah.
and they need 2 to 3 more years before you can take them as a serious contender, I think.
I can definitely see that happening. For me personally, I have the Flames as the second to worst And then I have the Kraken above them. I just feel like the Flames got a lot of things that went right for them last year. I do think Wolf is an unbelievable goaltender. He's so young as well. Had a new extension a couple of weeks ago. I feel like he's got a lot of promise in Calgary. I just feel like that they got a lot of luck. They got very lucky last year. Lack of offense for them. I just don't see it. I just don't see how they're gonna be that close to the playoffs again. Speaking of playoffs, I want to hear from both of you. Do you guys think you guys have the Canucks in the playoffs this year?
I don't.
I
Do
do
not? You
as
do?
a second wild card.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think they can. I think they can jump the Kings, but it's going to depend on Pedersen, Besser.
That was my next
It's going to be
point,
on the big
yeah.
guys, right? And if Hughes can stay healthy, I think they can make it. And Demko can stay healthy, I think they can do it.
100%.
And they do have a young guy, Lekaramaki. I like him.
He's
Played
had a great
played some
preseason as well.
good games
yeah.
last year, and they also have they have a good team.
Yeah.
By all means, they do have a good team.
Again, it
It's-
was only a year ago where they were literally one goal
Yep.
away from
Yep.
tying it up against the Oilers in their own arena in the second
Yeah.
round. They went to 7 with the Edmonton Oilers.
They
that series.
and they were up
almost could have beat
3-2
them.
in that series.
Yep.
With Shilovs and net as their third string goaltender at the time because obviously Demko was injured. That like they were very very close once upon a time, and their team is not that much different. So
I think, before we wrap up, I think we should talk about something that's very important happening tonight. Some big games in the league. We got Habs Leafs, Oilers Flames. We got any predictions, boys?
well, I mean, you know what I'm going to say. I'm a biased Leaf fan over here. I do think the Leafs always tend to play well during home openers, so I'm going to say that they're going to get the win tonight. That's my honest take about it, but
You know what?
it can go either way.
I'm gonna go with the upset. Like I mentioned earlier, I really like this Habs team this year. I'm gonna take them to win it in 4-3 in a high-scoring game. But I think the way the game will go, like having a young offense, will generate a lot of chances, but it'll also provide a lot of opportunities for the Leafs to counter rush. So I could see that high-scoring game, but I think Caulfield's gonna do well. I expect Demidov to get on the board even, so I think they can definitely net 4 goals tonight.
Yeah, I think it's all contrary to your point. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I found last year a lot of times when the Habs and Leafs play, it was low scoring,
Yep.
kind of hot, low event, but low scoring as well. So I think the Habs take it tonight with a score of 3-1 with an empty netter. So that's my take. But for the Oilers and Flames, I think honestly, I think the Oilers are the easy take.
Yeah,
because
I think so.
I
too.
think
I think
they'll win by a few
McDavid,
goals.
they have a big night. McDavid, Draisaitl, he's coming off that contract extension. He wants to show
Exactly, yeah.
the guys that he wants to win. He's going to be a really good team player this year, McDavid. I
Yeah.
could
Speaking
see
of
that.
contracts, I gotta say they signed a lot of. They made a lot
Oh,
of.
yeah.
They were very very busy the last 48 or 24 hours or so. They obviously extended Ekholm today as well.
That's a great deal.
I love that
Very,
contract.
very
At $4
good.
million a
Really
year,
good.
I
$4
love
million,
that.
That's a great deal.
Obviously, Wallman 7x7. Of course, McDavid deal yesterday. I think it's very very clear in that locker room with those guys who are up for contracts that they want to win and they're willing to take money away from their own personal salary to contribute to this team winning in the future because they know that they were so close 2 years in a row against the same team back to back, and they finally they understand that, and they're starting to feel like,
Yep.
you know what, take a little bit less money, give us a chance to win. You guys think they're gonna make it to the final again this year, 3 times in a row?
It's going to be tough.
I don't know. I always think Dallas has this great team on paper. They're gonna get through the Oilers, but I don't know what happened with Dallas last year. They without Robertson, without Heiskanen, they beat the Stars in 7. It's like, wow, you can do that against such a great team. You can beat them off. You beat the President's Trophy winning Jets in 6, and then all of a sudden you collapse the Oilers in 5. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
What happens with the Stars?
I
So
do.
it's
I'm
it's
not
kind
thinking
of
about
hard
the
to trust them.
Stars. For me, I'm not thinking about the Stars. I'm thinking about
The Golden
the
Knights.
Golden Knights.
I
They're
agree
the
with that
It's
team.
one.
possible.
They're
I
the
like
team
that too.
right now. Obviously, Edmonton has a great team, but if anything, the Vegas is probably going to be the team to beat in the playoffs. But that's a long time from now. Everything can change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We'll have
we
to see
should
what happens at
we
the
should
deadline.
talk about tonight. We got some takes, but we should end with our favorite segment, Christian's favorite segment.
Yeah.
Bet of the night.
The greatest
Christian,
segment,
the
the greatest
bet
segment
of
of all
the night,
time.
yeah.
what
so-
are we taking, Christian?
I'll give my better than I, like I mentioned. I think the intensity is going to be high. That's going to create scoring chances. It's a rivalry game, and I'm going to take the over. That's what we see a lot of times when we have a young team They're scoring a lot. They're being aggressive, but they're also giving a lot of counterattack possibilities. So I have a high scoring game and the Habs to win. So the over 6.5 would be my best bet for tonight.
I think for me, I'm gonna take Caulfield anytime goal. He likes that first couple games of the season. It always seems like he adds something new to his game. He improves over the offseason and he adds that, and he always has a strong start. So I think he can score tonight. That's my add to the parlay. And for finally, George.
Honestly, it's not even the fact that he's a great goal scorer in general. He loves scoring against the Maple Leafs. I've seen it
Yeah.
a lot last year.
Yeah,
I've
he
seen it a
does.
lot over the last couple of years in the playoffs. I've seen it. I know this kid can score a lot of goals, and he loves to goal against the Maple Leafs. I'm gonna I don't want to say Leafs money line because there's a little bit too bias and stuff. I'm gonna go for a Matthew Nice point though. I think
like
obviously
that.
a new
I do
top
like
line,
that.
Yep.
new top
Yep.
line. I don't know if Matthews is going to score. They have been shutting down Matthews pretty well as of late, but I do think Nyes gets on the board on the power play tonight with Michelli, the
Interesting.
new look power play.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see what happens tonight. Obviously, very very busy day in the sports
Oh,
world
yeah.
tonight. Obviously, Jays
Yeah.
are on, the Leafs are on, and everything else. Football on the weekend. NBA is coming up very very soon. Thank you guys so much for listening to our inaugural episode. It's been a lot of fun. This is Joseph. That's Christian. We're the Spread Podcast, and we're out of here. Thank you guys for watching.